Why does everyone instinctively agree that evil is real? Not unpleasant, not inconvenient, but wrong. When we see genocide, child abuse, slavery, or exploitation, we don't say, "That's unfortunate." We say, "That should not exist." And that automatic reaction carries an assumption most people never examine, because to say something is objectively evil is to assume a standard that transcends opinion. In this video, we talk about why evil exists. Stick around to the end because I'm going to reveal something uncomfortable for both sides of this debate. Evil doesn't refute God. In fact, evil is something atheism cannot explain at all. The classic argument goes like this: if God is all-powerful, he could stop evil. If God is all good, he would stop evil. But evil exists. Therefore, God does not. On the surface, that sounds airtight. But here's the problem. That argument quietly smuggles in a massive assumption. It assumes that evil is something tangible, not just a feeling, not just a preference, but an objective, moral fact. Because if evil is just personal dislike or social convention, then the argument collapses before it starts. You can't accuse God of failing a moral obligation unless that moral obligation actually exists. So before evil can be used against God, we have to ask a more basic question. What is evil, really? Most people assume evil is self-evident, but philosophically, it isn't. Evil is not a thing in the way a rock or a tree is a thing. You can't weigh it, you can't measure it, you can't detect it with an instrument. Evil is a moral judgment, and moral judgments only make sense if there is a standard that exists independently of human opinion. Here's the tension. Atheism says reality is fundamentally matter, energy, time, chance. No transcendent mind, no objective purpose, no moral lawgiver. But if that's the case, then moral outrage becomes very difficult to justify, because on a purely material universe, nothing ought to be any particular way. Things just happen. So here's the question atheism must answer. By what standard is anything actually evil? Let's be very clear here. If atheism is true, then moral judgments can only be personal preferences, cultural norms, evolutionary survival strategies. That's it. And if that's all morality is, then calling something evil really just means, I strongly dislike this. My culture condemns this. My evolutionary wiring reacts negatively to this. But here's the problem. We don't treat evil that way. No one says, genocide is wrong for me, but may be right for others. Child abuse is bad in my opinion. Slavery was just culturally inconvenient. We condemn these things as objectively wrong, regardless of time, place, or opinion. And that intuition doesn't go away, even among atheists. Which creates a dilemma. Either evil is real and objective, or atheism is true. But both cannot be true at the same time, because objective moral facts don't emerge from atoms in motion. Here's the reversal most people never consider. Evil only makes sense if God exists. Think about it. You can't recognize a crooked line unless you know what straight is. You can't diagnose disease unless health exists. You can't identify corruption unless something good is being corrupted. Evil is not a substance. Evil is the absence or distortion of good. Cruelty is corrupted compassion. Lies are corrupted truth. Hatred is corrupted love. Violence is corrupted power. Which means evil presupposes goodness, and goodness presupposes a standard, and a standard presupposes a source. So when someone says, evil disproves God, what they're actually doing is borrowing God's moral framework in order to argue against him. They're standing on the very foundation they're trying to demolish. Now comes the obvious question. Why would God allow evil at all? The short answer is uncomfortable but unavoidable, because love requires freedom.
A world where creatures are capable of genuine love must also be a world where those creatures can choose wrongly. If God eliminated the possibility of evil, He would also eliminate moral responsibility, courage, sacrifice, forgiveness, love itself. A robot can't be evil, but it can also not be good. The same freedom that allows a mother to protect her child is the same freedom that allows someone else to harm one. God didn't create evil. He created free beings capable of love. Evil is what happens when good faculties are misused. The final objection usually is this: why doesn't God stop evil right now? And the answer requires humility. If God removed all evil instantly, He would also remove every liar, every abuser, every exploiter, every selfish act, which means He would remove us. The Christian claim isn't that God ignores evil, it's that He temporarily allows it for a greater purpose and then holds it fully accountable. Evil is not the end of the story. Justice is. In the very fact that we long for justice, that evil offends us, is itself a clue about the kind of universe we inhabit. Closing reflection. So here's the real question. If evil truly outrages you, ask yourself why. Because outrage makes sense in a universe with meaning, purpose, and moral law. It makes far less sense in a universe that is nothing more than cosmic accident. Evil doesn't disprove God. It reveals that we already believe in something beyond ourselves. Comment below, does evil disprove God, or does it point to Him? And if you value thinking over slogans, subscribe to Truth Lab.